The colony of Vera 7 buzzed with renewed purpose. The intelligence gathered from the Krith fleet had been analyzed, every weakness mapped, every communication protocol understood. For the first time, humans held a real advantage against the alien force that had threatened their home. At the heart of this effort was Lieutenant Aaron Cade, whose brilliance had transformed knowledge into strategy, and strategy into hope. Commander Lyra Venn stood beside him in the command hub, her eyes scanning the holographic projections of the Krith fleet. She had grown to trust, respect, and rely on him, not only as a leader but as the embodiment of what humanity could achieve. She had whispered it many times before, but now she said it silently with certainty. "I need him." Aaron's calm gaze met hers for a moment. "This is it," he said. "The Krith will return. This time we strike with precision. We do not just defend, we decide the outcome." The human forces prepared with meticulous care. Ships lined the docking bays, weapons loaded, and defenses calibrated to exploit every weakness identified in the Krith fleet. Soldiers moved with confidence, guided by Aaron's instructions, trusting his judgment completely. Even those who had doubted humanity's ability to survive against the Krith now understood that intelligence, adaptability, and courage were more powerful than brute force. Alpha Squadron, flank the Eastern Fleet. Beta Squadron, cover the Western approach. Main Fleet, follow my lead, Aaron instructed, his voice steady over the comms. Timing is everything. Trust your instincts. Move as one. We are human and we adapt. That is our strength. Lyra monitored communications and energy patterns, ready to intervene and support the teams. Her hands moved with precision, intercepting Krith signals, feeding false information and creating confusion among the alien forces. Every moment, every action was a calculated advantage, designed to turn the tide of battle. The Krith fleet approached, massive and imposing. Their ships glinted with alien energy, their weapon systems charged, their formation near perfect. From the outside, they seemed unstoppable. But humans were different. Under Aaron's command, they moved not as individuals but as a single coordinated force, each action guided by intelligence and instinct. The first exchange began with blinding energy blasts. The Krith fired, striking the outer perimeter of the human fleet, but human ships moved with unexpected agility. Aaron had predicted the attack patterns and positioned the fleet to exploit every opening. The Krith were strong, but humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was a weapon they wielded masterfully. "Now," Aaron shouted, signaling the coordinated strike. Alpha Squadron weaved through the Krith formation, drawing attention while Beta Squadron attacked from an unexpected angle. Lyra's hacking efforts disrupted Krith targeting systems, leaving their fleet vulnerable. Aaron's own ship moved at the center, weaving between enemy fire with precision that seemed almost impossible. He directed human maneuvers, calculated counterattacks, and exploited every moment of hesitation in the alien formation. Soldiers under his command acted instinctively, guided by his calm yet commanding presence. Every move was calculated yet fluid, turning chaos into advantage. The Krith attempted to adapt, altering formation and firing patterns, but Aaron anticipated these changes. His mind calculated multiple outcomes simultaneously, adjusting the human fleet's position and maneuvers in real time. Energy beams missed their targets, walkers became trapped in their own formations, and human ingenuity continued to turn each threat into an opportunity. Lyra's heart raced as she watched. She had seen Aaron in combat before, but this was different. Entire fleets moved according to his strategy, and humans endured, thrived, and fought with courage. She whispered once more, "I need him," the words carrying gratitude, respect, and admiration all at once. A Krith flagship advanced toward the colony's central hub, energy cannons charging to obliterate the main power station. Aaron's attention shifted instantly. "I'll handle it," he said, signaling a small strike team to intercept. They moved swiftly, using terrain, agility, and distraction to divert the flagship. Lyra provided remote guidance, intercepting sensors and communications to confuse the enemy. The flagship fired, but Aaron and his team dodged and used the alien technology against them. Explosives disabled key systems, energy shields blocked devastating blasts, and with a calculated strike, the flagship's weapon systems were neutralized. The flagship retreated, damaged and ineffective, while the human fleet pressed forward. Soldiers cheered silently as human ingenuity and courage overwhelmed the Krith forces. Energy blasts that would have been deadly moments ago were now deflected, blocked, or avoided entirely. Improvised tactics, calculated movements, and strategic brilliance turned the battle into a demonstration of human excellence. Aaron's mind never stopped. Every movement, every shot, every maneuver was part of a larger plan. He anticipated the enemy's next move before they made it, turning every attempt to strike into a failure. The Krith, despite their advanced technology, were unprepared for humans who could combine intelligence, creativity, and bravery. Minutes turned into hours. The Krith, unable to adapt quickly enough to human unpredictability, began to retreat. Ships fled into the void, energy weapons spent, morale shattered. The human fleet pursued strategically, striking where weakness was revealed yet avoiding unnecessary loss. Every human soldier, every strategy, every maneuver reflected a combination of courage and ingenuity. Finally, the battlefield quieted. The human fleet remained intact, the Krith fleet in disarray, and the colony safe. Aaron Cade had led them through impossible odds, using nothing more than intelligence, coordination, and courage, the very qualities that made humanity extraordinary. The colony erupted in celebration, though tempered by the knowledge that vigilance would always be required. Soldiers embraced, civilians cheered, and leaders acknowledged the extraordinary performance of the strike team. Lyra approached Aaron, her eyes filled with pride and admiration. "You did it," she said softly, almost reverently. "You've shown the Krith that humans cannot be underestimated." Aaron shook his head slightly, his calm demeanor unchanged. "We did it together. Humans survive because we think, we adapt, and we trust each other. That is what made this possible." Lyra smiled, feeling the weight of those words. She had witnessed humanity's greatest strengths firsthand: courage under pressure, intelligence in action, and the unbreakable spirit that refused to yield. She whispered, this time without hesitation, "I need him." It was no longer just admiration, it was certainty, recognition that humanity's hope depended on the brilliance and heart of people like Aaron Cade. As the sun rose over Vera 7, casting light on the repaired colony, Aaron and Lyra surveyed the horizon. The Krith might return, but the humans were ready. With knowledge, strategy, and courage, they would stand strong. Every victory, every moment of survival, proved that humans were exceptional, not because of strength alone, but because of their ingenuity, spirit, and heart. Across the galaxy, humanity's triumph spread. Allies took notice, new partnerships were formed, and even distant civilizations recognized the potential of human intelligence and determination. The Krith, formidable and relentless, had been humbled by a species that combined adaptability with courage, showing that even in a universe filled with threats, humanity could prevail. Aaron turned to Lyra, their eyes meeting in understanding. Battles would come again, challenges would rise, but the example of today would guide them. Together, with humans at their best, they could face anything. "Prepare for the next challenge," Aaron said quietly. "The Krith will return and the universe will test us again. But we will be ready. Humans are not just survivors. We are thinkers, creators, and warriors." Lyra nodded, inspired by the truth she had always known but had now seen in action. "And you lead us through it," she said. "We need you." Aaron gave a small, confident smile. "And humanity needs every one of us working together. That is what makes us strong." The stars above Vera 7 glittered like diamonds in the cold void, and the humans beneath them burned brighter than ever. Courage, intelligence, and heart, the combination that had carried them through impossible battles, would guide their future. The Krith had been repelled, but the true victory was the revelation that humanity's greatest weapon was not machines or numbers. It was themselves. As the colony settled, soldiers rested and systems were repaired. Aaron stood at the edge of the training fields, looking out toward the horizon. Lyra joined him, standing quietly beside the one who had led humanity through its greatest challenge so far. The human spirit was unbroken. The Krith might return, but they would face a force unlike any other. With intelligence, courage, and heart, humans had proven that they could rise against any threat. And at the center of that proof stood Lieutenant Aaron Cade, the mind, the courage, and the leader who embodied everything humanity could achieve. Lyra whispered one final time, softly but with certainty, "I need him." Aaron turned his gaze to the stars, steady and calm. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. and humanity would continue to rise no matter the challenge, guided by the unbreakable spirit that made them extraordinary. The planet Kalira 9 shimmered under the twin suns, its surface a mix of jagged cliffs and sprawling deserts. From orbit, the world seemed peaceful, almost serene, but Lyra could see through the illusion. From the hovering command station above the battlefield, she observed the chaos below. Smoke spiraled into the pale sky and the ground trembled with the rhythm of distant explosions. Humans were a minority on this planet, sent as part of a coalition of species to defend the colony from an approaching alien force. The aliens, called Zarathi, were known across the galaxy for their precision and efficiency in war. Their movements were calculated, their attacks swift and merciless. Yet despite their advantage, the humans, and Lyra most of all, knew that this battle would not be won by strength alone. Lyra adjusted the viewing panel, bringing the field into sharper focus. Tiny dots moved across the dusty terrain. Those dots were soldiers, human soldiers. She could identify them by the way they moved, not in the rigid, predictable patterns of the Zarathi, but in quick, flexible bursts of instinct and ingenuity. Among them, one figure stood out immediately, Captain Orion. Even from a distance, Lyra could see the difference in him. While others advanced cautiously, he ran toward danger, weaving between cover points with fluid motion. His small team followed his lead, but it was clear who was in command. Orion didn't just follow the battle plan. He created it as he went, adjusting to the shifting environment and the unexpected attacks of the Zarathi. Lyra whispered under her breath, almost unconsciously, "I need him," not as a passing thought, but as a recognition of necessity. Orion was more than a soldier. He was a human in the truest sense, inventive, bold, and driven by something beyond training. Lyra knew that in this fight human ingenuity could change the outcome. The command station shook slightly as a pulse of energy struck nearby. Lyra braced herself, her eyes never leaving the field. Reports from scouts indicated that a squad of Zarathi drones had broken through the outer perimeter. On the ground, Orion's team engaged them immediately, using a combination of clever maneuvers and improvised tools. He tossed small, reflective panels that confused the drone's sensors, causing them to spin out of control. In moments, the threat was neutralized. Lyra allowed herself a brief smile. It was the kind of action that the Zarathi never expected. Humans were unpredictable. That unpredictability was their edge, and Orion embodied it perfectly. A call came over her headset, breaking her momentary focus. "Lyra, the Council wants a status update," said Commander Vela, a tall, blue-skinned alien with calm eyes and a voice like polished metal. Lyra took a deep breath. "The humans are holding their ground. Captain Orion's team is leading the skirmishes efficiently. Their improvisation is working against the Zarathi drones." Vela's brow furrowed. "Impressive, but we cannot rely solely on one human. The Zarathi are adapting." "I know," Lyra replied. Her eyes darted back to the field. "But Orion's decisions are not just tactical. They inspire others. Humans work better when someone takes the risk and leads creatively. He is the key." Vela's gaze softened slightly, though her tone remained firm. "Do not underestimate the enemy. Keep monitoring, Lyra." Lyra nodded, though Vela couldn't see her. She turned her attention back to Orion. From her vantage point, the captain's movements were a dance, a precise, instinctive dance that seemed impossible to predict. One moment he was flanking a Zarathi drone, the next he was using a piece of fallen debris as cover while directing his team. Every move was efficient, yet filled with an energy the aliens could never replicate. Below, other human soldiers watched and mimicked him. They didn't need orders. They trusted Orion's judgment and adapted. Lyra felt a spark of pride. This was what she had always believed. Humans might not have the raw power or technology of other species, but they had something deeper. Creativity, intuition, and an unyielding drive to survive and protect. A sudden alert flashed across the screen. A larger Zarathi unit had landed near the canyon's edge, moving fast toward the human outposts. The command station hummed with activity as alarms sounded. Lyra's pulse quickened. "Orion," she murmured to herself, "show them what humans can do." The captain's team advanced toward the incoming unit. Lyra could see him scanning the terrain, calculating risks in seconds. He didn't hesitate. He signaled to his team with hand gestures and a series of short, sharp commands. Each soldier reacted instantly, positioning themselves in ways that made the most of the environment. The Zarathi fired, but Orion anticipated their approach. He ducked behind a jagged rock, rolled forward and triggered a device that created a blinding flash of light. The drones paused, disoriented. Using the moment, Orion and his team pushed forward, taking the enemies by surprise. Lyra leaned closer to the screen. Every move Orion made was precise yet adaptive. He wasn't just fighting. He was creating opportunities out of chaos. It was what she had hoped to see. It was the reason she whispered, "I need him." Other humans joined the skirmish, emboldened by Orion's actions. They flanked, distracted, and improvised alongside him. The Zarathi, powerful and disciplined, were forced to retreat in small groups. It was a rare victory in a battle where humans were outnumbered and outgunned. Lyra exhaled slowly. Her fingers hovered over the control console, ready to coordinate reinforcements if needed. She felt a strange mix of relief and awe. Humans could be fragile in the face of alien technology, but Orion made them formidable. A small message flashed on her screen. Scout Team Echo reports, civilians trapped near Canyon Point Delta. Immediate intervention required. Lyra's mind raced. The canyon was narrow and dangerous, perfect for an ambush. Yet she knew who she would send. Without hesitation, she tapped into Orion's comlink. "Captain Orion, civilian rescue at Delta Canyon. Your team's skills are needed," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. There was a pause. Then, calm and decisive, came his response. "Understood." "On my way," Lyra smiled faintly. Even over a comm line, his confidence was inspiring. She turned back to the view screen as Orion's team navigated the canyon with astonishing skill. They used natural cover, created diversions, and guided civilians to safety without a single casualty. It was a performance of strategy, instinct, and courage. Lyra felt a lump in her throat. This was why humans mattered. In a galaxy dominated by predictable machines and highly advanced aliens, humans thrived on unpredictability, empathy, and rapid decision-making. Orion wasn't just leading. He was reminding everyone why humans were indispensable. As the sun began to dip behind the canyon cliffs, casting long shadows across the desert floor, the immediate threat seemed to diminish. The Zarathi had pulled back to regroup and the humans had secured the civilians. For a moment, there was silence, broken only by the hum of the command station. Lyra watched Orion one last time as he helped a child from the canyon floor, gently checking for injuries, giving comforting words. She repeated softly this time, more as a reflection than a thought. "I need him." It wasn't about dependence. It was about recognition. Humans had something no alien could replicate, something powerful in its unpredictability and humanity. And in Orion, that power was embodied perfectly. The twin suns touched the horizon, painting the battlefield in shades of gold and crimson. Lyra took a deep breath and prepared herself for what was to come. This was only the beginning. The Zarathi would return, and the true test of human ingenuity, courage, and resilience was yet to unfold. But for now, she allowed herself a moment of hope. Humans had a spark that technology and training alone could never create, and as long as Orion led, that spark could light the way even through the darkest of battles. The night on Kalira 9 was cooler than the day, but it carried an electric tension that made Lyra restless. From the command station, she watched the remaining Zarathi patrols retreat toward the rocky cliffs at the planet's edge. The humans had held the line, but the battle was far from over. Orion returned from the canyon with his team, their movements calm but alert. His uniform was dusty, streaked with the marks of the day's skirmishes, but his posture remained upright, confident. There was no boastfulness in him, only an undeniable presence that commanded attention. Lyra adjusted her display to focus on the human soldiers. She admired how they moved after the battle, not in panic or fatigue, but in silent cooperation. They checked each other's gear, shared rations, and quietly repaired their tools. Their rhythm was subtle but precise, a demonstration of instinct and experience working together. "Why do humans fight like this?" asked a voice behind her. Lyra turned to see Commander Vela observing the soldiers from a side panel. "They improvise," Lyra replied. "They react to the environment, predict danger, and trust their instincts. They can adapt faster than any algorithm or trained machine." Vela studied the screen. "Impressive. But can they do it consistently? One skilled human cannot hold a front forever." Lyra's eyes returned to Orion, who was guiding his team through a series of quick drills. He's not just skilled, he inspires the rest. Look at how the others follow him without hesitation. That is human strength. Below, Orion crouched behind a ridge and gestured with his hands. His team responded instantly, moving into positions that gave them maximum advantage. One soldier threw a small device into the air, creating a reflective shimmer that confused an approaching scout drone. Another set up a temporary shield using desert debris and alien technology, scavenged from the battlefield. Lyra's heart lifted slightly. Orion's team was demonstrating exactly what she had hoped. Humans using creativity, intelligence, and teamwork to overcome challenges far beyond their raw physical abilities. Suddenly, the sensors on her display lit up. A new wave of Zarathi drones was detected approaching from the western ridge. Lyra's pulse quickened. This was no minor patrol. It was a coordinated attack. She immediately sent a message to Orion, who responded without hesitation. Lyra, relay the civilian's location to my team. We'll hold the ridge and cover the approach. His tone was calm, measured, but it carried a certainty that inspired confidence. Lyra watched as Orion ran toward the ridge, followed closely by his team. Every step was deliberate, his eyes scanning the terrain as if seeing patterns invisible to others. The Zarathi drones arrived in silence, their sleek, angular bodies glinting under the twin moons. They moved with the precision of a machine, calculating each maneuver. Yet Orion did not flinch. Instead, he studied their formation, anticipating weaknesses. With a quick motion, he triggered a small device on the ground. A reflective wave spread across the ridge, bouncing light in unpredictable directions. The drones hesitated, their sensors misreading the terrain. In that moment, Orion and his team advanced, taking positions that allowed them to strike the drones before they could react. Lyra's breath caught. It was breathtaking to watch. A human using intuition and quick thinking, turning a dangerous situation into an advantage. The battle continued, not with massive explosions or chaos, but with careful, inventive maneuvers. Orion guided his team to outflank the drones, leading them into a trap of their own making. One by one, the enemy units were disabled without a single human casualty. Lyra leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with admiration. "That's it," she whispered. "This is why humans matter." Vela stood silently beside her, watching the screens. Even the seasoned alien commander could not hide a flicker of surprise. "I see now," she admitted. "Humans are unpredictable, efficient in ways we cannot calculate." The skirmish ended as quickly as it began. Orion's team secured the ridge, marking the area for future defense. The Zarathi units retreated, likely to regroup and reconsider their strategy. Lyra exhaled, a mix of relief and exhilaration flooding through her. Orion's team gathered briefly at the top of the ridge. He checked each soldier, offering words of encouragement and advice. One young soldier, still shaken from the encounter, looked up at him with wide eyes. Orion crouched down, meeting their gaze. "You did well," he said simply. "We adapt. We survive. That's what humans do." The soldier nodded, a spark of pride replacing fear. Lyra felt that spark too. It wasn't just about Orion's skill. It was about the way humans could inspire each other, elevate each other, and face overwhelming odds together. As night deepened, Orion and his team set up temporary defenses, using the terrain creatively. They dug shallow trenches, placed sensors in clever positions, and constructed barriers from rock and metal scraps. Every action was calculated yet flexible, ready to adjust if the Zarathi returned. Lyra watched as Orion paused for a moment, looking out over the ridge. His expression was calm but thoughtful. He seemed to understand the weight of the responsibility he carried, not just for his team, but for the humans, the civilians, and perhaps even the coalition itself. The comlink beeped, breaking the silence. "Lyra," Orion's voice came through. "We need reinforcements at the northern canyon. Civilians are trapped again. Can you coordinate?" "Already on it," Lyra replied. She activated the communications array and began coordinating drones, supplies, and support units. Watching the humans in action while managing the broader strategy made her feel both anxious and exhilarated. "Captain Orion," she said softly, almost to herself. "I need him." It wasn't just about survival. It was about trust. She knew that with Orion leading on the ground, the humans could achieve feats the aliens could not predict. His ingenuity, his courage, his ability to improvise, these were essential. Humans were not just part of the battle, they were the edge. Meanwhile, Orion led his team down the northern canyon, moving swiftly but cautiously. The terrain was narrow, full of sharp rocks and unstable ground. One wrong step could mean disaster, yet Orion navigated it flawlessly, scanning the area for threats, guiding his soldiers, and keeping the civilians calm. A young child clutched a small bag of supplies. Frightened by the shadows and strange noises, Orion knelt, offering a reassuring smile. "We're almost there," he said. "Stay close and we'll keep you safe." The humans moved with a coordination that seemed almost seamless, yet it was improvisation that made it extraordinary. One soldier lifted a fallen beam to create a bridge across a small gap. Another used a scanner to detect unstable rocks before anyone stepped near them. Orion guided them with subtle gestures, not giving rigid commands but trusting their judgment. By the time they reached the civilians, the Zarathi drones had noticed the movement and began advancing. But Orion anticipated them. He led the group through a series of twists and turns, using shadows, rocks, and natural formations to block the drone's line of sight. Every step was precise yet adaptive. Lyra watched from above, coordinating support drones that provided cover and scanning the terrain for hidden threats. She couldn't help but feel awe. Orion wasn't just leading a team. He was demonstrating what humans could do when they combined intelligence, courage, and empathy. Finally, the group reached a safe clearing where transport units waited. The civilians were escorted into the vehicles, and Orion's team ensured that everyone was secure. The danger was not over, but the immediate threat had passed. Lyra allowed herself a moment to breathe. The humans had not only survived, they had excelled. She repeated the thought, almost a mantra now. "I need him." It was not dependence in a weak sense, but recognition of the extraordinary. Orion's presence elevated every human around him, turning ordinary survival into extraordinary success. And Lyra knew that in the battles to come, that human edge would be the difference between defeat and victory. The twin moons of Kalira 9 cast silver light across the canyon, illuminating the human silhouettes as they prepared for the next stage of the fight. Lyra's eyes lingered on Orion, studying his calm, confident movements. For the first time, she felt a surge of certainty. Humans were not just part of the coalition, they were its unpredictable, vital spark. And Captain Orion was the embodiment of that spark. The morning sun rose slowly over Kalira 9, spilling pale light across the rugged landscape. The battlefield of yesterday was quiet now, but the calm was deceptive. Reports from the scout drones buzzed urgently on Lyra's console. The Zarathi were not retreating, they were regrouping. And this time, their movements suggested a coordinated strike on the human base. Lyra leaned over the display, scanning the incoming data. Civilians, equipment, and key supply depots were all at risk. The council was debating strategies, each more cautious than the last. But Lyra's mind was already on one person, Orion. She knew his intuition could turn what seemed impossible into achievable action. "Captain Orion," she spoke into the comlink, "the council is hesitant, but we need a plan. They intend to strike the base directly." Orion's voice came back, calm and resolute. "Understood. Prepare the civilians and guide them to secure zones. I'll take a small strike team to delay the enemy and disrupt their formation. We need to buy time." Lyra's heart raced. The plan was risky. The Zarathi were organized and technologically superior. Yet she trusted Orion. His combination of instinct, creativity, and courage was unmatched. Within moments, Orion gathered a select group of human soldiers. Each one was handpicked for skill, agility, and trustworthiness. As they prepared, Orion checked each weapon, each device, and every soldier's readiness. But it wasn't just about equipment, it was about their mindset. "Remember," he said quietly, yet with authority, "we adapt. We anticipate. We protect each other. Humans survive by thinking, by reacting, and by working together. Stick close, trust your instincts, and we'll turn this challenge into our advantage." His words weren't bravado. They were confidence built on experience. Lyra watched from the command station, feeling a mix of awe and relief. Humans were not the strongest species nor the fastest, but they were unpredictable, and in unpredictability lay their greatest strength. Orion led his team through a narrow canyon, the sun glinting off jagged rocks. Scouts had confirmed that the Zarathi strike team would pass through this corridor on their way to the base. Orion's plan was simple, yet elegant: create obstacles, mislead the enemy, and slow their progress without exposing the humans to unnecessary danger. He placed small reflective devices along the canyon walls, each one positioned to confuse the enemy's sensors. One soldier, skilled in electronics, adjusted the frequency to distort the drone's targeting systems. Another soldier built temporary barriers from debris, creating narrow choke points. Every action was adaptive, responsive, and carefully calculated. Lyra coordinated from above, guiding supply drones and monitoring sensor feeds. She watched as Orion moved ahead, his eyes constantly scanning, his mind calculating possibilities. It was mesmerizing to see a human operate with such skill, turning the battlefield itself into an ally. The Zarathi arrived, sleek and silent as ever. They moved in formation, confident in their numbers and technology. But Orion anticipated their every maneuver. Using shadows, reflective devices, and improvised barriers, he led them into false paths and dead ends. The humans avoided direct confrontation where possible, instead using clever distractions to delay the enemy. One drone attempted to flank the team from above. Orion spotted it instantly. With a precise gesture, he signaled another soldier, who released a small flare that caused the drone's sensors to misread the environment. The drone hovered briefly, confused, then retreated. Lyra couldn't help but smile. It wasn't just cleverness, it was intuition, the kind that no machine could replicate. Humans thrived on thinking outside predictable patterns, and Orion embodied that edge. Hours passed, each moment tense and calculated. Orion's team moved as one, fluid and adaptive, turning the canyon into a maze for the enemy. The Zarathi were frustrated, unable to predict human behavior. Each small victory, every drone misdirected, every barrier navigated, bought precious time for the civilians and the base defenses. Lyra's fingers hovered over the communication console. She coordinated additional support, sending reinforcements to the base and alerting nearby human squads to hold defensive positions. Yet she never interfered with Orion's leadership. She knew that his instincts were sharper than any algorithm she could provide. Suddenly, a larger Zarathi strike unit appeared at the canyon's exit. They were moving fast, determined to break through. Orion assessed the situation quickly. His team could not hold them directly, they were outnumbered, but he had an idea. "Follow me," he called, and his soldiers responded instantly. He led them to a side path, a narrow ridge that overlooked the main corridor. Using their height advantage, they set up a series of small, targeted devices to create controlled disturbances. Rocks shifted, dust clouds rose, and reflective panels created blinding flashes. The Zarathi paused, confused by the sudden obstacles. Orion's team used the moment to reposition, striking drones from unexpected angles and forcing the alien units to divert. It was a masterful combination of observation, anticipation, and improvisation. Lyra could feel her pulse quicken. Every maneuver, every decision was precise yet adaptable. Humans were not just surviving, they were shaping the battlefield itself. Even the alien commander Vela was impressed. "Observe," she said softly to Lyra. "This is why humans are indispensable. Their unpredictability, it cannot be simulated." Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed on Orion. He moved with calm determination, guiding his team and reacting to each new challenge. When a drone attempted a sudden strike from the flank, Orion signaled a soldier who redirected a reflective panel, blinding it momentarily. Another human threw a small net device that entangled the drone's sensors. The canyon became a test of ingenuity, not brute force. Orion's team was proving that humans could outthink even the most advanced machines when given the freedom to adapt. After a tense hour, the Zarathi began to withdraw, their progress blocked and delayed. Orion led his team back to the canyon entrance, checking each member and ensuring no one was left behind. Civilians and base personnel had been given time to secure their positions. The mission had succeeded without a single human casualty. Lyra exhaled, a mix of relief and admiration washing over her. Orion's strategy had been daring, but it worked because it relied on uniquely human strengths: adaptability, intuition, teamwork, and courage. She repeated the thought quietly, almost as a mantra. "I need him." It wasn't just about him leading on the battlefield. It was about the human spark he represented, the edge humans gave to the coalition. It was his presence that transformed ordinary soldiers into an extraordinary force, and it was that presence that Lyra recognized as essential for survival. Back at the base, Orion's team was greeted with quiet admiration. The humans around him were energized, inspired by his calm, inventive leadership. Orion didn't seek praise. He simply ensured everyone was accounted for and ready for the next challenge. Lyra watched as he interacted with other squad leaders, offering advice and encouragement without taking credit. It was this humility, combined with skill, that made him remarkable. Humans didn't just survive, they uplifted each other, creating strength through collaboration. The council convened shortly afterward to assess the mission's outcome. Lyra provided a detailed report, highlighting Orion's tactics and the human edge that had delayed the Zarathi and protected the base. The alien leaders nodded with understanding, recognizing that human ingenuity could not be ignored. Lyra stepped back from the display, a sense of hope rising within her. Orion had proven once again that humans were not just participants in the coalition. They were the unpredictable force that could change outcomes. His ability to improvise, adapt, and inspire had made the difference. As the twin moons of Calera 9 rose into the sky, Lyra watched Orion and his team preparing for rest. Even in exhaustion, they moved with quiet efficiency, checking gear, sharing supplies, and planning for the days ahead. Lyra's gaze lingered on Orion. "I need him," she whispered again, with a clarity that reflected admiration, trust, and recognition. The words were not about dependence, they were about understanding that humans, when led by someone like Orion, could achieve the impossible. The Zarathi would return, stronger and more determined. But Lyra was certain of one thing. As long as humans had Orion, and as long as they trusted each other, they could face any challenge. The critical mission had proven it. Humans were not just resilient, they were essential, and Orion was the spark that reminded everyone why. The following day on Calera 9 began with a tense stillness. The Zarathi forces had retreated, but Lyra knew better than to trust the calm. From her position in the hovering command station, she monitored the sensor feeds constantly. The alien units were regrouping, preparing for a concentrated strike on the human and coalition bases. Lyra's gaze kept returning to Orion. Even after the exhausting battles of the previous day, he was already preparing his team for the next engagement. His calm demeanor, precise movements, and steady leadership inspired confidence in every human soldier around him. "Lyra," Commander Vela said, standing beside her, "the Zarathi are gathering in force. If they succeed, the base could fall. We must plan a counterattack." Lyra nodded, her mind already racing. "We have an edge," she said. "Captain Orion's tactics have shown us that humans can adapt in ways the Zarathi cannot predict. If we use that advantage, we can turn this battle to our favor." Vela's brow furrowed.
"Do you truly believe humans can do it?"
Lyra's eyes returned to Orion as he briefed his team. "I don't just believe it. I've seen it. He will create opportunities where none seem to exist, and the rest will follow. We need to trust them and him." Orion led his team toward a canyon that overlooked the main approach path of the Zarathi. From this vantage point, they could see the alien units forming ranks, preparing for the full assault. The Zarathi moved with cold precision, but Orion's eyes were sharp, his mind working faster than any machine. He turned to his soldiers. "Listen carefully," he said. "The enemy expects a direct defense. They will strike where we appear weakest. But humans do not fight in predictable patterns. We adapt, we improvise, we survive. Follow my lead, and we will make them hesitate, make them falter, and give our allies the advantage." His words carried authority without arrogance. His team absorbed them instantly, trusting his judgment implicitly. Lyra watched from above, a mixture of pride and awe filling her chest. Humans might lack raw power compared to the Zarathi, but they had something else: ingenuity, courage, and unity. Orion exemplified all three. The battle began with a distant hum. The Zarathi approached in waves, their sleek armored units glinting in the sunlight. Orion moved his team to positions that utilized every advantage of the canyon terrain. He set up reflective devices to confuse the enemy sensors, rigged small barriers to redirect alien movement, and positioned his team to strike from unexpected angles. Lyra coordinated the drones above, providing cover and scanning for hidden threats, but she let Orion make the critical decisions. His instincts were flawless. Where the Zerathi expected resistance, Orion created illusions of vulnerability. Where they sought openings, he set traps using the natural landscape. The first wave of alien drones moved into the canyon, confident in their superior numbers. Orion's team reacted instantly, not with force alone, but with clever improvisation. Rocks tumbled from carefully positioned points, blocking paths and creating diversions. A sudden flare of light blinded the drone's sensors temporarily, allowing the humans to reposition with ease. Lyra's heart raced as she watched the unfolding strategy. Every move Orion made was calculated yet flexible. He didn't follow a plan blindly. He adapted in real time, responding to the enemy's unpredictable tactics. The humans were not just defending, they were controlling the battlefield itself. Even the Zerathi units showed signs of hesitation. Their advanced technology could predict patterns, but Orion's team was anything but predictable. Every diversion slowed them. Every creative maneuver disrupted their formation. Orion's team moved like water, flowing around obstacles and striking where the enemy least expected. He guided a small group to flank the Zerathi units from above, while another group created controlled disturbances in the canyon below. Dust clouds, reflective panels, and noise generators caused confusion among the alien ranks. Lyra felt a surge of admiration. This was humans at their best, inventive, adaptable, and collaborative. Orion's presence amplified every human around him, turning ordinary soldiers into an extraordinary force. Suddenly, a larger Zerathi commander unit appeared, moving toward the canyon with advanced drones and armored walkers. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, yet Orion remained calm. He scanned the terrain, looking for an advantage. "Follow me," he called. His team moved immediately, trusting his instincts without question. Orion led them to a narrow ridge above the approaching forces. From this high ground, they had a strategic view of the enemy's path. He signaled his team to deploy a series of devices that would trigger controlled collapses in the canyon walls. Rocks and debris fell in precise locations, forcing the alien units into bottlenecks. Simultaneously, reflective panels and sound devices created the illusion of larger human forces. The Zerathi hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Lyra's breath caught. Orion had turned a dangerous situation into an advantage. The humans were now controlling the enemy's movements, forcing them to react instead of acting freely. The battle continued with relentless intensity. Orion's team struck from unexpected angles, disabling drones and armored units without exposing themselves to unnecessary danger. Every move was precise, adaptive, and coordinated. Even the coalition allies observed Orion's methods with awe. Where the aliens relied on numbers and technology, humans relied on creativity, intuition, and teamwork. It was an edge that could not be predicted or replicated. Hours passed, the sun climbing higher in the sky. The Zerathi began to falter. Their units were slowed, disoriented, and increasingly vulnerable. Orion's tactics had turned what seemed like an impossible defense into a strategic victory. Lyra felt her chest swell with pride. Humans had not just survived, they had dominated through intellect, intuition, and collaboration. Orion's leadership had proven that humans were more than capable of facing the galaxy's most advanced threats. As the Zerathi units retreated, Orion's team moved swiftly to secure the canyon. They checked each other, ensured all civilians were safe, and prepared for the next wave. Orion's calm demeanor inspired confidence. His soldiers were energized, knowing they could face any challenge together. Lyra's eyes lingered on Orion. She whispered again, more firmly this time, "I need him, not as dependence, but as recognition of what humans could achieve when led by someone like him." He was more than a soldier. He was a catalyst, the spark that transformed ordinary humans into a formidable force. By the time the twin moons of Kalira 9 rose, casting silver light over the battlefield, the humans had established a strong defensive position. The Zerathi had been forced to retreat, their confidence shaken by the unpredictable creative tactics of Orion and his team. Lyra exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. The humans had not only survived, they had proven their value in a tangible way. Orion had turned a critical battle into a defining moment, showcasing the best qualities of humanity: ingenuity, courage, empathy, and collaboration. Orion and his team gathered briefly, checking their equipment and ensuring every member was accounted for. He offered words of encouragement, not praise, reinforcing the importance of teamwork and adaptability. The humans responded with quiet determination, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Lyra reflected on the events of the day. Humans might not have the advanced technology or sheer numbers of other species, but they possessed something far greater: the ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to inspire one another. And Orion was the embodiment of that power. The Zarathi would return, stronger and more organized. But Lyra knew that as long as humans had Orion leading them, they would face any challenge with courage and ingenuity. He had turned a seemingly impossible situation into a victory, proving that humans were more than capable of shaping the outcome of battles. As the night settled over Kalira 9, Lyra whispered once more, her voice carrying a sense of certainty and admiration. "I need him." And she knew that she was not alone in that recognition. Every human who had followed Orion, every soldier who had survived the day, and every civilian who had been protected, would carry the same thought in their hearts. Humans were the edge, the spark that could change the course of any conflict, and Captain Orion was that spark.